Hello and welcome to my talk on modern streaming video for the Jamstack. My name's Tom Dale, and video is dominating content on the web right now. Estimates say we're watching between 90 minutes and 2.5 hours of video content a day. And obviously here we all are watching video, right? But still, most viewers want to see more videos from brands and businesses. 3/4 of marketers actually believe that videos have a better ROI than static imagery. That's a lot of indicators saying that we need to focus more on videos. Well, here at the Jam.dev, we're learning about an amazing ecosystem that's growing in support day by day. So I want to take a look at some modern methods for streaming video right now. And then I want to show how easy it could be to take those videos and put them on the Jamstack. I'm going to focus on YouTube, MP4, and HLS. Talk about how each case works with different industries and show examples of how to implement them in the Jamstack. So let's start with YouTube first. YouTube, obviously a leading social media video platform we all know. And it's free-ish to use. It's easy to embed on your site, and it's got a great distribution platform. So let's actually look at an actual real example I have. So on a site I'm working on, I'm actually doing a bunch of tutorials and have videos, and lo and behold, here I am doing videos, right? These are YouTube videos. So this site is actually on Nuxt, and I think it's a really good example for why you would use YouTube videos here. Because I want to get these videos out into a great distribution platform. I want more people to see them, and I need to get the word out about them, right? So I think this is a great example for why you would want to use YouTube, and it's really easy to put them on Nuxt. Looking at what I did, you can look at my here we go, my videos view. I actually have then a component called YouTube, and above it, I'm just doing a V4 for videos of videos, and then just doing a key off the slug. So essentially, every instance I have of a different video, it's going to actually create one of these sections, right? So let me first look at the section, and then I'll talk about how I identified each one. So looking in the component, the YouTube.view, I'm using Tailwind, so you just might know these might look familiar to you here, right? And then for YouTube, real easy, just an iframe, and I can embed it right here. I can just do a vbind on the source, do youtube.com embed, and then refer to the actual video number. Then I can just throw on a bunch of other items here. Maybe I don't want to mute it, I don't want to autoplay, so on and so forth, right? So in this example, I'm actually using Nuxt content. So I actually have built into Markdown all my different instances, and which is a great example for Jamstack, right? Obviously, you might be using a headless CMS, connecting and getting each content that way. All of those are great examples. But like we know, I'm just vbinding and looking at this item.video, right? So if you look at my Markdown, here right in the video, just have this number is what I'm bringing in, and that's what's generating this right here. So for every single Markdown file I have, I'm bringing in the text and then accessing this video and doing it all via an embed. So I think that's a really good use case for how you would do YouTube for Jamstack. Now let's think about, well, you can't always use YouTube, right? Like, sure, that was a really good experience, and when you're on my site, the videos are working, YouTube's performant, and when you're someone else's, you don't know about my site, you have a better chance of finding my articles, right? Because YouTube is really good at distributing all this content. But that may not be the reason you need video. So here are some reasons why maybe you shouldn't use YouTube. Ads is just humongous, right? Like at the end of a video, you get this thing where it's showing all these different recommended places to go. And boy, oh boy, if one of your competitors shows up, if you're something competing against IKEA and IKEA's right here, that's a real bummer to have literally a suggestion to leave your site and go to a competitor's site happening right on your website. That's a really tough thing to have to go through for your product or for your site. Also, let's think about media sites. Media sites make money off of ads. Well, if you're using YouTube, then YouTube is using your video to make money off of ads. You're not getting the money from the ads. So if you're a media site and your main business is getting ad revenue, you can't be doing YouTube. You got to do another kind of video solution that's going to allow you to put on your own ads and make money, or distribution platform or something, right? So YouTube has a lot of good benefits, but it's going to give ads. It's going to point away from your website. It's going to take risks to have people go down the rabbit hole, go to the YouTube rabbit hole, leave your site, go to other places. They won't see more of your ads by watching your videos. Maybe they'll leave your product. They won't purchase it and because they forgot about it, went somewhere else. These are all big pitfalls of maybe not using YouTube for your site. And then the last one, just not matching the site design. I just drew up a quick example here. Like if you have a product section and down here maybe you have an explainer, this video will work. And here we are seeing it. It's just the way it's designed and looks may look maybe a little cheap for an e-commerce site, may not match your branding, versus if you just want, and then you're risking that redirect at the end. It might take you away from the site. Versus if you were serving something else, you just have you have a lot more control over the player, and maybe why you shouldn't use YouTube in some instances, right? So I think that really clarifies a bit of YouTube and how you could use it in the Jamstack. It's really easy just to embed, to take that video ID and just vbind and switch it away to whatever markdown, CMS, content platform, whatever it is you're using. It's real simple. The next method for serving video is the tried and true simple method of using an MP4. MP4 videos are supported in every browser, even IE. I cannot believe it, right? You don't even need a third-party player. You can just use a default player in a browser if you like. You would need to serve the MP4 via a CDN, though. Like these are Jamstack sites and they are static, so we do need to be serving things through CDN for them to be performant. So let's go back to that sample site I was showing. Here we go. So simple product ID down here. This is playing via an MP4 URL. No player, no nothing. So if I show this example, here we go. It's literally just a video tag, some Tailwind CSS. I'm show controls, loop it, make it the full div, and here we go. Just simple URL, and then you identify the type, video MP4. You can see if I hit it over here, same video, just working, right? That's what's sitting right here, and the process to get a video online in front of a CDN, an MP4 video, super easy. I mean, S3, it ain't pretty, but it's gonna work, right? If I just take this video in here, upload, here we go, upload, there we go. It'll just take a moment. It's like 20 seconds. No big deal, and then you'll get a URL. I mean, and you know, if you're using S3, you can put it in front of CloudFront. You know, in this example, I actually have my imagix account hooked up to S3, so everything that goes through my S3 just goes to imagix. So that puts it on a CDN as well, right? There we go. Yeah, see, there it is. New one just came already. So super easy way just to upload images and get them on MP4s. And you can just have them working really easy here. Thinking of another really good use case. I mean, I don't know if I love the idea of background videos, but people do background videos. And MP4 is a great example for a background video. Because the background video shouldn't be too long. So MP4 it can be good for that format. You wouldn't want to do YouTube. That's just going to look insane and ridiculous, right? It's not what you want. But it's a real simple idea. I'm just auto-playing it, getting rid of the controls. Here, let me bring up the code again to show that example. Here we go. So just on the home page, same thing, video. This time I've muted and autoplay. This is just all native inside the video tag in HTML. Or, yeah. Perfect. Real simple. So when does MP4 have any pitfalls? When is that a problem? Well, so there becomes this issue of how high of a quality should I make my MP4? People with good internet, 4G, 5G, they'd be able to download my higher quality video and see a nice video. But if I do that, then I've got people that might be taking a train, BART, whatever, I don't know, or maybe they're in a bad service area, maybe they're on fast 3G. Those people are going to be having a heck of a time watching that video, and you're going to lose those users. I think some of the numbers I saw were around 20% of users could be on fast 3G at some time. So, then do you just lower the quality of your video? Because if you do that, then the other users that have the good internet are going to notice the degradation in the video and the low quality. You could generate several different video sizes to kind of like match every format. And now you're just managing this big serverless thing that has nothing to do with what you want to do. And now you're having to manage all these other things. So I think that kind of becomes a problem, and you have to debate this idea of whether or not you want to build out something like that to have several different resolutions. And just to prove this point and this idea, but for 3G and not. So here we go. Again, I'm just got a code pen with a simple idea. Video tag. Got an MP4 in here. Maybe we can refresh it. So we start anew. Here we go. Good old MP4 working. Playing, absolutely no problem, right? Well, what if we want to pretend that we're in a 3G environment? So you can just open your network tab and actually throttle yourself to fast 3G. Go back over here. Let me do another refresh. Here we go. Things are okay, right? Run through. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Oh, no. Here we are buffering. Here it was. Thought we were rolling around in the future, but nope. I'm back to 2002. Can't even watch my video without it buffering. I'm out of here. Hate this. So that I think really identifies that there could be some pitfalls for MP4, and again, only certain scenarios that I think you should really use MP4s, those shorter background videos, maybe just shorter videos in general that you just want to auto loop and make them look like an animation. And maybe some product videos that aren't too long are fine to do, especially if you expect them to be purely in a higher performant environment. But if not, then I think we need to look into some other options to serve our modern video on the web. Let's look at HLS now. HLS isn't necessarily a new protocol. It was created by Apple, I think, 2009. HLS stands for HTTP live streaming. Now, even though the word live is in the name, it's actually really good at on-demand video. It works by breaking down MP4 videos into small chunks that are then indexed by the web server. Depending on the target device, the size of the video player, a good solution should really transcode and adjust the resolution to fit in that device and that player. But now enter the real magic, adaptive bitrate streaming. It modifies those video chunks every few seconds based on the end user's bandwidth. If all of a sudden you hit that bad area of bandwidth on your phone, at home, wherever, it'll actually decrease the quality of that video to make sure the playback isn't interrupted. I'm sure we've all experienced this on Netflix or something. It lowers in quality, it goes back up. You keep watching that show. But if it's just buffering and spinning, especially if you're shopping or something like that, you're definitely going to abandon and go away. You don't want the playback interrupted. It checks about every 5 to 8 seconds typically to see when the bandwidth changes, so it's doing it pretty frequently. One immediate item that stands out in difference to MP4, it's only supported natively in some situations. So you need to use a player with HLS support. Luckily, there are a lot of great ones out there that are open source, like Video.js. It's honestly a good thing to be flexible with your video player, because then you can customize your branding. You can find add-ons that you need. Maybe you need to add advertising. Maybe you want the end cap to be videos you can choose that'll come up next. It's a good thing. Now let's look at a side-by-side example of MP4 and HLS. I'm actually going to go to an app that was created not by me, but by Jamie Dawson, and he did it in React. And the idea is just using an HLS player and a regular React player. And you can actually just put in URLs here and then play them and see them side by side. And I'm still on my fast 3G right here. So let's go back to our Game of Thrones that we were looking at before. Let me adjust this as well. Perfect. All right, so let's play them now, play both, and then let's do the mutes. Here we go. So this bottom one is MP4. It's already buffering, already having issues. So I think that it's a pretty good example, and this is a great app to show this side-by-side idea. So you actually might have noticed that some of these URLs I was putting in here, they're actually imgix URLs for the HLS. Well, it's true. Just last week, we launched a new video API. It connects to your storage just like we connect with your images. It has a video management dashboard where you can see all of your actual media. So maybe video isn't that word. Media, images, video, other items. And if you remember, before I had uploaded something to S3 and I said my imgix account was connected to S3, well, we can go ahead and pull it up. It was that unwrapping thing. Here it is on my dashboard. It's already here on video, right? It's processed. Here's the link for it. I can just take that link. I could put it in some HLS player. We know it's here. And I'll just put FM equals HLS. And then that's all you need to have it running. It's actually going to get served on then a CDN. The CDN is a multi-CDN setup. Right now it's using Fastly and Cloudflare, so it's going to detect the fastest CDN to use. And there it is, just a real simple setup again. Just, you know, you could upload to S3 or GCS. It's connected to imgix. Just use the API, FM equals HLS. Real simple. Even have a dashboard to search, to modify your categories. There's an API connected to this dashboard, so you could actually even do uploads to imgix. And you know, we have your S3 credentials were used for the setup of imgix. So when you actually use that upload API, it's actually uploading to your S3 to imgix, right? So it's a really useful item, and I would love it for all of you to go out, try to use it, check it out. Mention that you saw in this talk the new imgix video API from Tom. We would love to get you set up to start using it. Okay, we have just a couple minutes left, and I just want to quickly throw onto the end an actual tutorial of making a React app and putting an HLS player in. And trust me, it's simple, easy, and quick. So let's just get started in the terminal here. I'm going to go to my folder of choice here, and then I'm going to do a npx create React Tailwind app. So npx create React Tailwind app, video the jam. Let's cd into it. And we also want to install an HLS player, right? So npm install React HLS Player. Don't get mad at me, I'm going to force it. And then I'll run npm install on the rest of it, and while I wait for the rest of it to install, I'm just going to bring up the code editor as well. And the nice thing about this Tailwind starter is it's going to have like the Tailwind config already set up and the Tailwind CSS as well. So here we go. All right, so while this all goes, I'm going to bring a new, bring the editor here, throw this in here, and we can have a look. So in the source, I mentioned we had Tailwind CSS, so you're bringing in the base and the components and the utilities, that's nice. And the config's already made, there's a post CSS file, everything's set up to start using Tailwind. While it's still installing, we can't look at it yet, but you can imagine a React logo here and then some words below, right? So I'm going to replace that React logo and actually put the video player right in here. That means we don't need to import the logo, but we do need to import React HLS Player from React HLS Player. Cool. So right here is where I'm going to put the player, and I'm going to borrow again from Jamie Dawson. So if you're out there, thank you very much. Here we go. So React HLS Player source, and then I have a URL here. It's in the imgix one with fm equals HLS. I'm going to set the width at 100% and the height auto, so that'll just fit nicely in there. And let's go ahead and run this, see what we can see. We can also add a second video or 3 or who knows, right? So let me just grab this div right here, go down to here, and let's go ahead and duplicate, right? So we're duplicating, but let's switch out this URL for another one. So I can go here and again get my Game of Thrones one if I want. And we're going to leave the FM HLS. So let's see how we're doing now. Localhost 3000. Perfect. So this one I think, yep. Hello. The explainer video. Next one. Man, that was easy. That was great. We already have the 2 videos up. They're looking fine in their little cards here. And, you know, it's Tailwind, so we can go anywhere from here and just super modify it, make it real easy. Maybe use Tailwind UI if you want to be lazy about CSS. Who knows? Possibilities are endless. So again, just looking back, it's a real simple addition of the HLS player, source, putting in some sizing, and you're just importing it right here. That's all I had to do. Made it from scratch. No funny editing. No cutting out. Nothing. Working. Doing great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to attend my talk. And I hope I brought in some good info about YouTube, MP4, HLS. I'm not saying any of them are bad solutions. They're actually all good solutions to use in Jamstack sites, just they all have their own purpose and time to be used. So to recap, YouTube, if you want that distribution platform, if you want to get out there and pushed out there, you don't need the ad revenue. It's fine with you that the branding's off. It's a good one to embed and put in. If you're doing a shorter form video, MP4, real easy, simple to do. Maybe even if you're doing like a background auto-playing video, that's a good one to do as well for MP4. But just watch out once it gets a little bit longer. You don't want to be using it because either A, you're going to have to create a complex setup to build several different resolutions and something serverless probably to actually make sure to cover yourself for the people in the higher bandwidth and lower bandwidth. So enter the HLS solution. HLS solutions have come a long way. There's a lot of platforms now that's starting to support it. imgix, brand new one to the game, also to be supporting it. It's a really good, simple solution. Just connecting to S3, Google Cloud Storage, whatever it is, gives you the URL for the video API, works in any HLS player, that quick, you saw it working. Thanks so much, everyone. I really hope you learned something about video for modern Jamstack, and look forward to talking to you all.
Thanks, Tom. That was great. I think personally, I end up including a lot of video in my projects, but sometimes I think it's so easy just do YouTube or something like that, even when I probably shouldn't for the reasons that you listed. You had some legit reasons, and it's been problematic for me before, but just that I think the issue you discuss of like I need it to work for everybody, and so sometimes the cheat way is just upload it to YouTube, even if you probably shouldn't, because yes, it has ads. Yes, it will, could promote your competitor, etc. So I think that was some really good points there.
Yeah. I mean, HLS is like not that new of a thought, but just hasn't been that prevalent in platforms to be available to people. And I think it's just getting way more accessible now. And I think it's something people need to understand. It's not that hard to do. And just like Jamstack, right? People are always maybe worried about switching a Jamstack, but once you start looking into it, it's not that hard to make a Jamstack site, and it's not that hard to make a really good video on a Jamstack site.
Right. So let me ask you a little bit about how HLS works. I mean, you talked a little bit about it, but I noticed first of all that like you were uploading an MP4, and is imgix doing some conversion there to make it work for HLS? How does that all happen?
Yeah, it transcodes it to HLS, and then HLS really is just making a ton of MP4 chunks, but it's just making all the different size options, right? Like it's like if there's 6 different resolutions, it's going to make all of them for every 5-second chunk. And then as
Mm,
it detects your bandwidth as it goes every 5 seconds, it's just going to switch it up and down depending what your bandwidth is to make sure that the video always keeps playing. And the goal is to have the highest quality video possible and not have any buffering, right? Like achieve both
right.
those items and let you go up and down. And it's a really interesting time because Google isn't really pressuring you a ton on performance of videos. Like if you look at the page speed dev sites and those kind of places, they'll
Hmm.
hit you hard
Yeah,
on
it's true.
images, but they're never gonna hit you hard on the video. So it's really way more on you to try to bring that great experience to the end user.
Yeah, that is a surprising thing, I guess. I hadn't thought about the fact that they do hit you for images, but if you have a really terrible video, I suppose if you're embedding an MP4 or something like that, and it's really heavy, they might hit you for that specifically, like as a background or something. I don't know. I haven't
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
mean,
really tested.
usually they hit you if you do like GIFs because they want the GIFs to be an MP4, just to make them an MP4 and auto loop and look like a GIF. Because I
Mm,
mean, most websites now you think like Giphy, it isn't actually GIFs, it's MP4s. But I mean, they just make them look like GIFs, right? Because the GIFs are too
yeah,
heavy. But yeah,
sure.
so we're not seeing a lot of that thought of them saying, "Oh, you should have lower resolution video for users on lower connections." Like that's not happening yet. So it's just something that again is kind of you really need to take the charge on yourself to realize I need to serve all different types of users in all different situations, and I don't want them to leave. Right? That's the other tough thing
Yeah.
on YouTube. You don't know if they left early or not versus the other video solutions, you can really actually get some better analytics and understand if they left too early or not.
Right, right. And you're a good point about the gifs, because even like if you upload a GIF to add like a literal GIF to say Twitter, and it actually plays an MP4. So
Oh
um
yeah, I mean, I've been on this crusade of getting rid of gifts, but that's like a whole nother persona of my life.
yeah, I mean they are heavy. I don't know, I think a lot of us don't, haven't gotten used to just replacing them, which we probably should. Um, so you said, okay, so you said it chops it into 5-second chunks, right? And each chunk, depending on so do you set like how many different qualities you want, or is this some kind of default, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's just a default with a ton of different resolutions. Like I can't remember what they're maybe 360, 540, 720, 1080, like a bunch of different sizes. And it takes two ways to think about what size you need. A, it takes the CSS sizing you did on the video
Mm,
player, and then also your bandwidth, right? So it's doing a decision on both. So it goes, oh, you're doing a really small video in your video player, but they do have good bandwidth. Let's give them a slightly higher one to make sure it looks good, versus giving the humongous one, right? And so it will switch around in two different ways. But the thought
Okay.
is, you don't want to think about it too much, right? Like you just want a video to play for your users.
Right.
And this helps you not think, okay, I need to build a serverless thing and generate 5 sizes and put them all in there and have it choose the right one. Like again, you don't really want to think about it that much. You just want to at least know
Right.
that you're playing for all users, right?
And so yes, absolutely. So question, you were using the React HLS player. So like, is this different like than the regular video tag player? Or is this, what is
Yeah.
that
So
doing under the covers?
yeah, so one dilemma I mentioned about HLS is you need a player that actually supports HLS, and the reason is because of that idea of adapting the video size based on your bit rate. If you just
Mhm.
use the basic HTML5 video tag, it's not going to support that. Some browsers do, but not all of them. And if all of them don't do it, then you need to do something that'll work on all of them, right?
Mhm.
So there's a lot of different players though, like Video.js is an extremely popular player, or HLS.js, or then they all have versions in React and Nuxt and Angular and all those, right? So my React HLS player was just another free example for React, right? And the reason I had to use that one was just because then it will actually understand the bandwidth and adapt based on your bandwidth.
And are there any like, do these players just work in every browser just the same? I mean, are there any considerations I need for like mobile versus desktop on those kind of things?
Oh yeah, those are all those players work on all browsers. And if you're actually just building a mobile app and no browsers, then you can actually just use the video and it will work. So all
Oh,
HLS like it works on mobile. But again, that was just my dilemma of, if you're actually building a site that's desktop and mobile and multiple browsers, you need to find something that'll work on all of them. So does Video.js or whatever it is
sure.
will work on all of them fine. But if you are making a pure mobile app, yeah, you don't need the player. That you could just do natively in the mobile app.
Okay. And for one thing you mentioned was background video. Can you do a background video that's HLS, or is it kind of thing you have to use?
You can. The guess the debate is, most background videos like aren't too long, I guess, right?
Right.
And if you aren't doing too long of a video, like if you're doing a 5-second, 8-second video, MP4 is fine. Just do MP4 and it's fine. It's more the idea of when you have something a little bit longer, you have 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever. You have 30
Right.
minutes, then you want to be focusing more on the HLS idea. So it's
Right.
more like, it really isn't, it's not bad to use HLS as a background video, but maybe it's bad to put a minute long video as a background video is the better answer, right?
That makes sense. True, true. And I mean, I suppose if in this case, if it's just, as far as I'm concerned, as a developer, I'm just including an MP4, right? Like in either putting in an HLS player or putting in a background video tag. Like, as you know, the URL from imgix is just an MP4. And
Yeah,
am I
you
right?
can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just drop that FM HLS and it'll work as an MP4.
Right. So, okay. So the difference
Yep.
being the player is what determines whether it gets served as an HLS versus not. If it's in the regular video player, it's going to be, it could be just a regular MP4. If it's in the HLS player, it's going to use HLS.
Yeah, and the one thing is, just at the end of the URL, you'd put FM equals HLS to like choose
I
to
get it.
have us
Yeah.
change the format. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Okay. I missed that little URL
Yeah,
parameter. That's
so,
all.
so imgix is like API driven, and at the end of the URL is like how you make changes to it. So you can do all kinds of things at the end of the URL to change up images and videos, and that kind of practice works super well on Jamstack sites, just to append things at the end, right?
Yeah. And so
And
go ahead. Go ahead.
when and Google is Google gets upset about putting things in the middle of a URL because then it confuses it with the name and then SEO and that kind of thing. Putting it after the .jpeg or .mp4 or whatever in a question mark, Google understands that stuff is API, not name.
Sure, that makes sense. And so to even though it says like adaptive bitrate streaming, right? Like this is different from like regular video streaming. Like this is not a streamed video. It still plays like an MP4, still downloads, right? It's just downloading in chunks. Am I correct?
Yeah, because traditional video streaming, like an MP4, is it's playing and it's still downloading the rest of it, right? That's why you buffer, because if you're on a bad bandwidth, it could be downloading too slow and you catch up to that point, right? But in an ideal world, streaming is you don't have to wait for the whole video to play. You can start watching it while you're downloading it and theoretically,
Right.
hopefully not catch up to that point. Versus the HLS streaming, it is again downloading as you watch, but it's also has several different versions. So that way, if it starts getting too close to catching up, it's gonna like adjust and go to those lower resolutions and start downloading lower resolutions so it can make sure to get too far ahead of you again.
Right. But it's also different, say Crowdcast right now is literally a stream where like I'm not necessarily downloading the video, the full video in the end. It's pushing a stream down. That's different, right?
The HLS is also a stream too. Like it won't push the whole thing. If you leave early, you haven't downloaded the whole thing.
Ah, okay. Wow, okay. Good to know. I didn't realize. So yeah. Um
Yeah,
that
I mean,
makes a lot of sense.
yeah, one of those ideas of not making people download unnecessary, bandwidth, right?
Yep, for sure. And so you said like within imgix I can it's not obviously not just videos. This is a whole like you can upload images and do transformations on images as well through your system.
Totally, yeah. imgix has been doing images for a long time, and you can optimize images. And we have this same idea of like intelligently thinking of serving the right format. So again, JPEG is like the tried and true format, right? But in every browser has like an image type they think is better and is better than JPEG, but none of them agree on the same one, right?
Of course.
So
Why would they?
no, why would they? So we intelligently detect what browser you're on. So you serve avif for Chrome is like a really new popular format that's quick, or WebP then would be like in Firefox and so on and so forth. So it's continuing that same idea of serving your content and doing it like intelligently to make sure it's like the fastest possible thing. So yeah, and it's we're creating this platform where you can bring all of your media, and the most important thing we think for the performance of your site is optimizing your media. So that's what we're really focusing on.
Definitely. I mean, it's amazing, how that's becoming a bigger and bigger chunk of the, site page weight as we move forward. I mean, and yeah, so it's definitely something folks have to take care of. That and not too much JavaScript
No,
can be a
totally.
problem too.
I mean that's a whole world too. Like JavaScript, you should be gzipping it, but again, there are other algorithms to make it more encoded. And if you put it on
Right.
imgix, it'll be smart and switch it up to like Brotli and other things depending on the browser. So it's just
Right.
keeping up that idea of like whatever you're serving, let's do it and let's optimize it and make it quicker, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the attendees mentioned that I think she saying HLS versus just regular MP4 is a bit like UDP versus TCP, I guess, different protocols in a way.
And I do not know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
I don't know if that's a comparison I've heard or that quite makes sense to me, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting that I hadn't really, watched video all the time. And, I did notice that, when it drops quality, it'll drop for like a certain particular period of seconds and then go back. I never really thought about how it was doing that. I thought it was, I hadn't thought that it was actually chopping the video up like that. But that makes a lot of sense.
Well, yeah, and you could kind of
Yeah.
see that secret thing behind my screen at the bottom, just like a network tag I left open, right? It was like a happy accident. You could just see it actually generating these files. And theoretically, if you like open them or even look at the names, it says like what sizes they are. So you can see it actually choose the different resolutions. So it's pretty neat seeing it go into action.
Yeah, okay. And I see our video guy Potter in the back. He's nodding like he's all into this. This is his his topic. So, yeah, awesome. That's really cool. I definitely want to check that out because I mean, obviously even on CFE.dev, I do a ton of video, but right now like I've been for cheating purposes, it's been on YouTube or Vimeo. Vimeo mostly because YouTube didn't allow me to control, like you can pay a little bit for Vimeo to like give you private stuff, so without the
Yeah.
ads and that stuff, right? So
One
but yeah.
the nice thing too about those like players you can bring for HLS, like Video.js, for example, there's like so many plugins that are free to like do your own ads, to do your own bookends at the back, like all the stuff that you would need to actually like generate revenue. And I think you're just starting to see more and more of this battle against these bigger platforms that you don't need to pay a ton of money for these big platforms, that you can really do extremely performant videos yourself and actually generate revenue for yourself as well, right? I mean,
Hmm. And
wow.
so somebody was asking, what's the loss behavior like? Can you lose packages? Can you actually like maybe skip ahead in the video, if a package, one of those little bits is lost?
You can absolutely skip ahead, but I mean, I've never seen a situation where it's like losing a package in there where like a part of the video is missing or gone. But
Okay.
it absolutely supports the idea of jumping ahead. Yeah.
Okay. And one last quick question. We're running out of time, but somebody asked, is imgix also supporting RTMP ingest, or is it ingesting from buckets? Do you know what that means? I don't.
So we're ingesting, there's like a list of like 15 different like video formats that you can ingest, and it just goes through your S3 bucket and we'll ingest it and then transcode it for you. If there are other imgix people on the chat, maybe confirm the idea. I don't know about if it's RTMP or not. It's a good question.
Okay.
But
All right.
and I think the biggest thing, I know we're running out of time, is like I threw in that last 5-minute tutorial at the end. It's just that quick. Like build something yourself and just get the feeling of it and see it yourself. It'll just take you like 5 minutes, and then you could really see it in action yourself. I think that's the most important thing about Jamstack. Just build it. It's so quick to deploy something and do it and feel it yourself and learn that way.